So just a little bit of story around Sodexo. Sodexo was a company that was born in 1966. So it's not long ago. It was a company that was born in Marseille, in France, from our founder, Pierre Belen. And he created this company to start making some space and grow in a niche market that was the corporate restaurants market. 50 years later, this startup that was born only 50 years ago serves 100 million consumers every day and has 470,000 employees across the world. So you can imagine that in 50 years, our entrepreneurial spirit is very present in our company. The innovation mindset and the spirit of growth, it's really there. However, we are living a moment where our industry is being highly disrupted, and we have more and more pressure, first of all, from the consumers that want more and more personalized services, and on the other hand, from our clients, because we are a B2B company, that want us to propose and continue delivering highly technological edge solutions to everything that we offer. Therefore, we have two major objectives, and we had since many years ago. The first one is to ensure that we continue to nourish our people and our internal innovation spirit, and we continue bringing it to life every day. And the second one was to open ourselves to all the innovation that was coming out from the outside. It was very important for us to create that open ecosystem and ensure that not only we nourished that internal, but we captured that disruptive innovation, that we listened to it and we brought it to life. So this was the starting point, and therefore our organization is very similar or very matching very much what you can see in the slides. We have focused our efforts on two major things. The first one is to create inside our teams a number of people that are working directly with the business units. They are people, we call them single point of contacts, that work with each business line and that support them in crafting, designing, influencing that business transformation with the mindset of innovation and digital. It's very important that these people or these structures accompany that business transformation that is happening on every business unit. At the same time, and in order to make sure that we are agile, that we continue making and capturing all this external innovation and build win-win partnerships, we have put as well local structures in the different countries that allow us to ensure that we deploy with agility all this innovation, and at the same time that we create the local ecosystems, whether it's internal or external, so that we keep on feeding the growth within our company. Also have created the different enablers, but I think I will deep dive into that later, which are the accelerators and the different structures, like Sodexo Ventures Corporate Fund, that supports us in building those links with the external innovation.
Belen, just a question, just to also provide a sense of the size of such a structure. How many people are working in the Open Innovation Unit?
So today, the direct team is 50 people across the world. It's a local team, and these are direct reporting. However, we have created a structure, and I think this is one of the key levers, which is an indirect structure. We call them transformers. So there are a group of people within the different functions and countries that have a real appetite to growth and innovation. We animate this community, and these are the people that freely support us in all the different projects or the different initiatives that we put in place. And these are around 4,000 people.
Agustin, what is your structure?
Well, as I said, the role of innovation in our company has changed in the last 15 years, 10 years. So when we started this new role, the first thing is that the technology and the business models in the electricity sector wasn't changing that much. So we were doing what we call R&D projects that really were incremental R&D for our business units. So we started doing this. Our product at that time, this also at that time was the kilowatt hour. We don't know, we don't differentiate with the kilowatt hour from our competitors. If one comes from Enel or Nosa or whatever. So we started doing R&D related to improvements in efficiencies, in lifetime of our assets. We have more than 100 billion in assets, so improving the lifetime of our assets, environmental footprint, and so forth. So what we developed was what we call a decentralized model for our R&D. So people in charge of the operations were those in charge of the R&D projects, incremental R&D projects. And we developed that model that is in place, and it's working very well along this year. And it allowed us to increase our R&D budget very much along the years. But this is a model for a company that doesn't have any threat of changing the business model in the coming years. But the truth is that last decade we start seeing that first there were people that there from outside to challenge our business model. So we start seeing in the presentation before we have heard about Holaluz, one of the retail companies that has entered into the listed market in Spain. So these kind of companies were challenging our model and the status quo that we had in the electricity industry for many years. So we thought that we were missing, we had all these people in our company. You were asking, it's like 400 people doing R&D in our company. But they were very focused on improving what they were doing. But they were not focused on doing different things. So we thought we can do two things. We can have like EDF that have 1,000 people near Paris in the R&D labs, and this is very expensive. And again, they were going to do the same. Or we could somehow look at what the world was doing and to check what kind of new technologies or new business model were going to be developed. And with this, we set up a venture capital fund, a corporate venture capital fund, so we could start having ideas and scouting companies from outside our world and to see what technologies and what business models were in place. We started doing that, and it also has different steps. We started doing that just looking at hardware companies, because we are a company that mainly deals with assets. So we look at how we can improve our assets with new technologies, wave technologies, tidal technologies, photovoltaic technologies, CCS technologies, and so forth. And this was good. I mean, we learned a lot more than with our R&D projects. We know everything about tidal projects or anything about wave energy projects, because all the companies in the world were coming to us for funding and to make pilots and R&D projects with us. And we invested in some of them. After that, we changed our mindset a bit, not only to hardware companies, but to companies that could offer a different service or product to the customers in the electricity sector. So understanding that our product wasn't anymore the kilowatt hour, but it was something else. It wasn't only about just billing them for the kilowatt hour they had, but trying to offer a different thing for them. So we start looking at also companies that offer different business models, for example, in the storage field, STEM, and so forth. And then this was our second step, looking at the outside world, maybe a startup, and this is why we are here, and so forth. And the third step was, okay, but there is also, it's our internal R&D, it is the startup world that were challenging us, but we also look at the supply chain that was changing even faster than we expected. And we have seen, Ernesto, you know that very well, that in last 10 years, for example, photovoltaics has increased its cost 80%. And this opened up a real new world for generation in many countries. For generation, for distribution, for retail, and so on. And what we studied was to really create a strong department on prospective analysis and to understand how future scenarios of this slow changing industry that was ours were going to come in the next years and was going to change. Not only from the startup world, but from the technology world, was changing our business model. And so we have this third part of perspective that tries to understand how the world is changing at the pace that it's changing and become a tool for the strategy of our company. And this is really driving the strategy for new investments and new position of our company in this new energy system that is coming. And we are seeing here in the COP this year.
So we're going to talk about KPIs in a second, but maybe, I don't know if you can share, maybe it's too private of a question, but what kind of budget can you mobilize from your structure, the size of the budget that you have?
Yeah, I think last year was more than 250 million euros.
Okay, it's a good start. Ernesto, why don't you share a little bit of your structure, your innovation hubs, and the stuff that Enel is doing?
So, first of all, my role is Chief Innovability Officer because I manage the function of innovation and sustainability. We have created this new word mixing innovation and sustainability because we think that if we don't innovate, our company will not survive. And on the other side, that the real aim of the company is survival, but you can't do it without innovation. And to involve in your innovation the most talented people outside of the company, you must be sustainable. Because the best talents don't want to work for a company that is not sustainable. The best talents don't work for money. They work to give something of themselves to the humanity, to give to themselves a purpose, a sense of purpose. So there is not open innovation without sustainability, from our point of view. My role is directly under the CEO. So, as in a body, you can't change one cell or two cells of your body, keeping the rest fixed. Because you are not the same person that 20 years ago you were. And all the cells, you have changed all the cells. The person that you were 20 years ago is dead. And it's incredible because every day we change our cells. We change the cells of the skin of our lips every 2 hours. So after 2 hours here, you will breathe the skin of other people. This is dust. Dust is made by the skin of other people. And every 24 days, we change the whole skin. No? The same happens in a company. How can you have a separated innovation, haven't the chance to change the whole company? So we have people in every business line, in every function, and aim at changing that area. So we have innovation people in finance, innovation people in audit, innovation people in HR, innovation people in generation of production of energy, innovation people in infrastructure and networks, innovation people in the markets, innovation people in the ICT, in the digital department. Everywhere there is a head of innovation in a specific area, and this head of innovation reports directly to the head of the business area or function and to me. And I can connect all of them to people who are outside, startups, universities, research centers, inventors, and all of them are linked with me in this innovation ecosystem. And even the digital is linked because without digital you can't implement a lot of innovation. So if you look at the structure, there is a diffuse structure. Everywhere there are people managing innovation. I give to them MBOs, KPIs, incentive schemes. I evaluate them. This is not a functional relationship. It's a hierarchical relationship because unfortunately companies are hierarchical. And if we look at tools, we have innovation hubs. We scout for startups. We have 10 physical innovation hubs. And thanks to Mind the Bridge, we have a strong support in our 2 innovation hubs in the United States, in Boston, and in San Francisco. We have innovation hubs in Moscow, Scaleup, in Madrid, and in Pisa, in Catania, in Milan, in Tel Aviv, in Santiago de Chile, and Rio de Janeiro. And we look for the best startups there. But this is not enough. We use Startup Europe partnership to scout the rest of Europe. That is a huge potential, interesting source of startups. We need to look at the best interesting places where startups are. And unfortunately, ideas can come from everywhere. So we must activate ourselves. But scouting is not enough. What we do, we identify the companies and we work with them, because I have people in the business areas and they can evaluate the startups and they can activate projects. Some figures, 6,500 startups scouted in the last 4 years and a half, 6,500. More than 250 projects successfully implemented, more or less 400 projects not successfully implemented, and obviously, and more than 50 companies already scaled up, and 17 companies that now have a value of more than 300 millions, that when they started with us, they had zero value, zero market cap.
So you already talked about the KPIs, so I want to go through that real quick. But maybe just to clarify this, the reporting structure. So the people in the business unit have a double reporting. So you're a champion in every business unit of the innovation area that reports, double reporting to the head of the business unit and you as a result of that.
And in functions too, not only in business units, even in HR, even in audit, even in financial, even the CFO has someone to manage innovation in finance.
Even the legal, actually, also
legal
folks.
Yeah, you know, because we were scouting together innovative solutions, startups for the legal department, because the legal can do a lot of stuff with AI and other technologies that are disrupting all of us. So if we change the whole body, we will survive. If only a part of your body is changing and the rest of the body is not changing, you have a disease. This is the problem. Many companies have those diseases. An innovative area and a not innovative part. But if you are innovative and the finance is not supporting your innovation, if you are innovative but the HR is not supporting your innovation, if you are innovative but the legal is always blocking you, you are not an innovative company. You are an innovative area in a problematic, in a company with troubles.
Yeah, no, Ernesto, you are an innovative company 18 months later.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about KPIs. You already mentioned that. So, Ernesto, let's keep the flow with you. Then we go back. In this slide, we put on some potential areas of implementation. We're talking about innovation. One of the issues is which part of innovation, and number two, how do we measure?
So we give them not only money, but this relationship between a future client, if everything goes well, and a company that is starting this new business. So this smart money, I think it's very valuable, and we get into the deals. And this is a very different point of view. We don't get into the companies to acquire the companies or to control the companies or to incorporate the companies into our structure. Because if we do so, we think we kill them. We kill all the new ideas or the new ways of doing things if we incorporate them into our culture. Our culture is a different culture. So the truth is that most of them end up becoming our customers. Not our customers, sorry, our suppliers. And we help them to develop that. For example, just an example, we invested like 5 years ago in a company that used drones for the surveillance of and inspections of energy infrastructure, mainly wind farms and windmills, and we helped them to develop the product, what we needed. The competition at that moment was for the inspection of the blades was the telescopes. Our operation unit said, we can use telescopes instead of drones, and it's easier, and we have the people trained for that. What is the advantage of that? Well, it's the same. And they say, oh, if only I could see inside the blades. And the guy of the drone said, I can do that. And now they do that, and there are no more telescopes anymore in our wind farms. And there are many examples like that. So when it comes to M&A and to incorporate these companies into our structure, we take more care. Because as I said, we think that the development of startup companies or new companies is a different culture than ours. And we think that we know what to do with operating assets, with incorporating technology in our assets, but we are not that good in developing products or hardware or technologies like PV panels, like wind farms and so forth. So we have understood that what we want to do is to incorporate the better technology to create this new energy system of the future, and for that we don't get into the supply chain very in the manufacturing process and so on, but rather go into the operating assets. When we go to retail, and I'm finishing with that, it's happening almost the same. We have a strong client base, and we are seeing many people doing software and new products and services that change our offer to our clients. But what we are doing is really to collaborate with those who are having these new tools to offer to our clients new products and services, but not buying the companies that have those tools.
Can I just ask you, what is the major KPI that you need to sell to your CEO or to your board from what you do? If there is one specific.
Yeah, well, there are many that are very.
The number one.
250 million euros and only is not the best one because this is. He said, "Well, this is expense, but what are you using this money for?" Right. So, but the truth is that when I asked when I talk with Mr. Galan, he's always asking me how what you are doing is changing our renewable business, our network business mainly. And you can see that in our R&D, in our investment plan for 2022, we have 32 billion euros investment in network and renewables. And this is mainly because we have changed our mind with these new technologies that we are presenting today.
So then what are your KPIs?
So on our side, we are focusing on three things. The first one and most important one was to open our ecosystem. So we've been working in the past 4 years to create the structures to source and bringing the necessary outside innovation. So we made agreements with external companies in the innovation space that allow us across the world to capture that innovation, source, understand these companies and how they can help us, and equally help us in defining what are the partnerships that we can create with this external world to keep on delivering growth, disruptive growth in our vertical. So we've done this in China, India, Brazil, the US, France, UK, and we keep on growing, Sweden, and we keep on growing and looking for innovation in those markets in the world that respond to our needs in terms of disruption and innovation. We then have created a venture fund, capital venture fund, Sodexo Ventures. This fund, we use it as a lever to work together with startups. And we mostly invest and put participation in those companies that we know that we want to co-build and grow together and scale up in specific solutions that are not core to our business.
Belen, sorry, which is the size of the fund?
So today it's 100 million, but again, it's open as we move along. It's an open fund.
Okay.
Sodexo is very keen in continuing to invest into this fund. So today we have this limit that we can move forward if we want. Sodexo Fund has one specific clear statement for us, is that it is important for us that we mix the agility and the innovation that they provide us with the scale and the expertise of the service industry that we provide to them. So we build, first of all, a partnership, and then we invest, because we understand that we need to support the startups in scaling up with funds. And although there's a lot of capital, we realize that many times the startups are looking for corporations like us that allow them to have this commercial or this client push in their journey. We invest as well with M&A, but we do invest in those disruptive models that are much more linked to the disruption of our core. We believe that this is something we need to protect, and therefore, if we ever invest, we buy these companies, and we, without integrating them too much, we make sure that by giving them liberty, they become part of Sodexo.
All right, so we're about to finish. The last question here, again, in 30 seconds answer. Clearly, you're all trailblazers in the world of corporate innovation. Otherwise, you wouldn't be sitting at this table. So you're very successful in activities that you're doing. Let's talk about an example of something that wasn't so successful. More, not to point out, but more to point out what the lessons learned out of that. So can you just in 30 seconds give us an example of an experience of an unsuccessful relationship with a startup and the lessons learned? So maybe Belen, let's continue from your side.
So I think our first unsuccessful or less successful or lots of learnings was our first investment with Sodexo Ventures. I think we underestimated the difficulties that we have between corporations and startups to work together. We probably did not put the necessary resources inside Sodexo to make sure that the synergies took place, and also the governance to ensure that within our companies we were in an agile way taking the right decisions at the right time to ensure the synergies that we have put on that nice 5.0 Excel file.
Agustin, your examples?
Yeah, it's almost really the same. When we started our CVC, we started acquiring the majority of the shares, more than 60%, and we were saying, well, we want to manage the companies, to the startup. Then it was a complete failure, and we lost all the money.
Yeah. Ernesto, you have the last word.
Success and failure. Success was Nozomi Networks. 5 years ago, a guy came to me. He was working for another company, and he said, "Okay, I have this invention." And I say, "Please resign and found your company." Now this guy is Andrea Carcano, 31 years old. He's a multimillionaire, and he's founder of Nozomi Networks. The headquarters is in San Francisco, and he has 41. He is serving companies in 41 countries. Worldwide leader for cybersecurity. And 5 years ago, he hadn't even the company when he came to me. And we didn't give to him money as a corporate venture capital fund, but we helped him on defining the product, on changing the features, on testing the features in our plans, on finding the venture capitalists, and we found the first, the second, and third venture capitalists that invested in this company, and now this company the company's value is more or less 500 million. And the failure, another example, is Amber Kinetics, a great startup from Berkeley, so spin-off of Berkeley, great technology, flying technologies. We wanted to invest in products, and so we gave to them more or less $3 million, and they have developed the product. We changed the product. We helped them to better the product, and we tested it in standalone storage in California, and we tested it in our thermal plant. It was a failure because the technology is not ready. But innovation is like playing poker. You must admit that you have to pay the pot to look at the cards, but you must be able to discard the cards and say bye-bye, because you must be ready to fail. And I should have a question for big companies investing in startups. How many companies you have invested in have failed, have gone to bankrupt? Because for venture capital funds, it's normal to let them die. But for big companies, it's scary to let them die because they go on newspapers, so they need to rehire people, they need to put fund, instead of keeping them to die. This is what we need to do, because when you have the right cars, you have to raise the pot, but when you haven't the right cars, you have to discard and you have to say, let's try it again with a new one. And we are very happy because Nozomi Networks is now supporting the majority of energy companies in the world, our competitors. If we bought them to limit them, they couldn't scale.
Cool. Our cells and our lips have already changed, so it's time to move on. Thank you very much, our panelists.